Josie with Texas A&M Agri-Life Extension. Welcome to this program, Eating with Purpose and Without Guilt. I hope you all have a piece of candy or something like that in front of you, because later on we'll be needing that at the end of the recording, at the end of the program. So let me share my screen with you so you can see the PowerPoint. Okay, today we're going to discuss stress eating, how our relationship with food influences what we eat and how much we eat, and how we can use mindful eating tools to help us eat, but not too much. Let's get started. Our eating habits are a result of many factors. Our parents and authority figures. You basically have to eat when the teacher tells you you have lunchtime, or when you were younger, your parents would tell you, this is when we eat. When I grew up, it was we eat at 8, we eat at 12, and we eat at 6. Okay. My family's nothing like that anymore, but that's the way it is for some. Now, you eat with your family and friends. You eat when you go out in an environment, at work. We also eat, and then sometimes just eating is part of the environment. If you have office parties, if there's snacks always available, or if those children of co-workers are selling candy, you feel like you have to buy it. Our eating habits are a result of many other factors. They include physical activity, our health, our knowledge and attitudes about food and nutrition. For those of you who have taken on a multiple caregiver roles, which at y'all's age, probably not many of you have, but you'll notice that your eating habits change. You have children, you'll see, they didn't finish that chicken nugget. You might be the one who finishes eating that for them. Okay? And I don't know if you ever feel like this, but you can tell that these people look like they have a little bit of stress going on in their lives. Okay? Do any of you ever feel like that? Americans are stressed out. A study shows that stress in the United States is a concern. An estimated 7 in 10 Americans are believed to experience physical symptoms of stress. These symptoms include poor energy levels, headaches, upset stomach, insomnia, which means you can't get a good night's sleep, and feeling run down. Sometimes stress can lead to more colds and infections. Other people with stress might even grind their teeth or clench their jaw at night. A number of events can lead to stress, but some of the biggest contributors to stress in our lives include jobs, money, health problems, relationship problems, how we think we look, poor diet, and lack of sleep. Even too much media, think TV, smartphones, tablets, and computers, can influence the amount of stress that we experience. A 2018 survey of adults found that 1 in 3 had seen their doctors because of stress, and 1 in 3 cited their job as a regular source of stress in their lives. Not to say all stress is bad. However, when stress is constantly present and not dealt with, the end result can be poor health and an increased risk for chronic disease. Research has shown that stress can impact our eating habits. One study found that 3 in 10 adults use food to cope with stress. Another study found that during stressful times, nearly half of adults choose unhealthy foods. For individuals who are dealing with chronic stress, their diets tend to be more energy dense. Think donuts and candy bars, as opposed to nutrient dense. Think apples, oranges, tomatoes, lettuce, with fewer meals and fewer vegetables. Eating comfort foods is very common during times of stress. These foods are often high in calories, very palatable, that means you like to eat them, and while they may make you feel better in the short term, in the long term, they could lead to the development of poor eating habits, weight gain, and other adverse health outcomes. Our environment often encourages overeating. So far, we've learned that some of us are under stress, at least 1 in 3, they say. We also have learned that using food to cope with stress is common, and foods people choose to deal with stress are not very healthy. Now combine that with the fact that our environment often encourages us to overeat. Let's face it, Food is everywhere we turn, whether it's a vending machine in the building that we're often at, the refrigerator we have under our desk at work, or possibly in your classroom, a jar of candy sitting on a coworker's desk or a friend's backpack you always know has candy, an endless choice of drive-through options in our neighborhoods or common parties we participate in. It often revolves around food, and many times food is available even when we're not hungry. Can y'all think of situations that might be like this for you? I know all of my family situations usually involve food, our get-togethers. So what about this? Does this look familiar? If it doesn't, it may be when you get older. Eating while you're driving to work, eating while you're at your office desk sitting there and need to get some lunch in, sitting on the couch watching TV while you're eating supper, or eating while you're playing on your phones. I bet some of y'all do that. I know some of the people I know do. Okay, so you think, are my eating habits impacting my health? Usually at a very young age, we don't think about this kind of thing. But let's take a minute and think about it. If so, how can we approach nutrition and eating in a healthy way when living and working in a stressful environment? This might be an interesting quote to you, because it leads us into the discussion of how we can enjoy food without overeating. If you're like many of us and just trying to get through the day, we may not be taking the time to enjoy the food that we eat. In other words, we're not being mindful of what we're eating. Because we overeat not because we enjoy food too much, it's because we don't even take the time to enjoy it. Mindfulness. When we think about the concept of mindfulness, we're talking about the act of being aware of our surroundings, being aware of what is currently going on and what we're doing. Have you ever been driving down the road and all of a sudden forgotten and you were almost already at your destination? Or have you ever sat down for dinner and ate so fast that you forgot what you ate or even what it tasted like? These are examples of not being mindful. Mindfulness is the act of paying attention to what is happening in the moment. You live in the moment and think about the current experience. Thoughts of what happened in the past or what might happen in the future should be put aside. Studies suggest that being mindful can help lower stress, depression, and anxiety, and may even improve our overall health. It is not, however, a cure-all. No matter what you might read on the internet or social media, mindfulness will not cure cancer, won't cure major depression, and won't get you a better job or a higher salary at your current one. Let's focus on our attention on mindful eating, though. Mindful eating is defined as eating with intention or purpose while paying attention to what and how we eat. When we eat mindfully, we are in tune with our hunger, fullness, taste, and satiety cues. That means comfortably full. Now, mindless distracted eating. I'm sure at least one of you have participated in this at some point in time. On the other hand, there are those times when we might engage in mindless or distracted eating. This happens when we eat for reasons other than being hungry. Some people may eat when they are stressed, happy, bored, angry, sad, or even depressed. When this happens, there is often little or no thought to what is being eaten or how much. How might mindful eating help improve our nutrition? It's a fairly new concept, but some researchers believe that it can help us eat healthier. If practiced correctly, mindful eating may help control our food cravings, may reduce unhealthy eating habits such as binge eating, emotional eating, or restrained eating. Binge eating is when someone eats a large quantity of food very quickly without having much control. It's usually followed by a period of guilt. Emotional eating occurs when we use food to comfort or soothe our sadness, our anger, our boredom, our stress. By contrast, restrained eating occurs when we refrain from eating foods on purpose to avoid weight gain or to promote weight loss. Mindful eating can also help us consume fewer calorie-rich foods, and we may even participate in some spontaneous eating a little less often. There are other benefits of mindful eating. It could include weight management, increased self-esteem, and a feeling of empowerment with respect to eating. Mindful eating can help us have control over the foods we eat in a healthy way. So there are some components of mindful eating. First, we need to become aware of our hunger and our fullness. You need to know what hunger feels like. You need to know what being full feels like. The idea is to use our sense of hunger and fullness to decide when to eat. Think about a hunger scale between a 0 and 10, where 0 is starving and 10 is very full. Think Thanksgiving dinner after you've eaten that. If you wait until you are 0, starving, you may be so hungry that you lose control over how much you eat. It's like, give me anything, I'll eat it. If you eat when you're at a 10, already full, then you're obviously not eating because you're hungry. This paper suggests that you eat at a 5 or a 6. I encourage more at a 3 or a 4 when you're actually really hungry. Second, slow down the pace of your meal. Take time to enjoy your food and the taste and the texture of the food. Third, eat without distractions. This means no phone, no screens, no eating in the car in front of the TV. You want to have time to enjoy the food without any interruptions or distractions. This also helps you tap into your feelings of hunger or fullness so you know when to stop eating. Fourth, acknowledge that your food preferences are okay. Okay, this doesn't mean that you eat junk food at every meal. Rather, your food preferences are part of who you are. As you become more aware of what you eat and why, the theory is that you'll shift to healthier foods, which leads us to the next component of mindful eating, and that is choosing to eat foods that are tasty and provide nourishment. As we shift from eating mindlessly to eating foods with a purpose, the goal is to replace unhealthy foods with those that are healthier and more nutritious. Let's tune into events and situations that trigger us to eat when we're not hungry. Okay, when you're stressed, do you eat? If so, let's become aware and look for other ways to deal with that stress. Go for a walk, write in your journal, call a friend. Finally, practice meditation, becoming aware of what we're eating. This is an act of being in the moment, not rushing through a meal and thinking all about aspects of the food. And you should think about all the aspects of the food, how it was prepared, the taste, how it feels in your mouth. And you think about here being in the moment, focusing on the food that we're putting in our body and our sense of hunger or fullness. Doesn't that look good? Some research says that if we eat with a purpose, mindfully, then what we thought of as bad or sinful may no longer even be desirable. Again, you're eating with a purpose, being in tune with your hunger and satiety, and without distractions. Mindful eating can be hard to do. Our food environment generally supports mindless eating. Food is everywhere, and there are many subtle cues to eat, regardless of how hungry we may be. Our work culture often promotes mindless eating. How many of us have eaten at our desk or on the run while we're headed to the next meeting or class? Do you get to enjoy the food you're eating, or do you just inhale it because you're late and wonder where it all went 30 minutes later, or even what you ate? Some people find it hard to identify when they're hungry and when they're full. This is especially true for people who graze or snack all day. Take a second and ponder this question. When was the last time you actually sat down at a meal and felt hungry? If you never experienced hunger before a meal, how do you know when you're full? Finally, it should be emphasized that mindful eating is a process. It does not happen overnight. Start slowly and shoot for progress, not perfection. So, here's some tips. If you work, try to keep your desk and work area for your snacks. So when you're doing your homework, don't have that bag of potato chips right next to you. Studies have shown that when snacks are put in front of people, it promotes eating when whether they're hungry or not. See that candy sitting next to you? That's kind of what it was meant for. Remember, out of sight, out of mind. Next, Try not to spend time in places where food is always in sight. This may be in a co-worker's office who keeps candy in the break room where the vending machines are available. Next, remove distractions when you eat so you can focus on the food and your feeling of hunger and fullness. At work, this means not eating at your desk. At home, this means no snacking in bed or in front of the TV. At home and at work, it means eating without computers or phones in your hand. Remember, the goal here is to focus on the food and our feelings of hunger and fullness. Many people who practice mindful eating start their meal with an expression of gratitude. For some, it may be a prayer of thanks. For others, it may be a moment of reflection or gratitude for that particular meal and all the work that went into preparing it. Take a moment to express gratitude allows you to think about the meal you're about to eat. When it's done, it also allows you to get in tune with your hunger or satiety. Another tip is to chew your food. Don't inhale it. Eat slow so you can taste the food and savor the flavor. One that is helpful to put down the utensils between the bites. This would slow down the eating process and will allow us to get in tune with the feelings of hunger and fullness. Remember, no phones, no computers, no TV, nothing with a screen. It's nice to visit with your family at this time. Okay, so now grab your little piece of candy. Okay. Excuse me. Put away your phones and any other distractions. Pick up your piece of candy and take a moment to reflect about it. You haven't unwrapped it yet, have you? Now you can unwrap it and smell it. What are your thoughts now? Now take a little bite. Don't throw it all in your mouth, just a little bite. How does it feel in your mouth? What does it taste like? You can continue eating it, but eat it slowly. Once you're through eating it, think about, do you feel satisfied with eating that one piece? I know eating one Hershey's Kiss, if I eat it mindfully, is actually a lot of chocolate, but I can pop 4 or 5 with no problem if I'm not thinking about it. Do you think you appreciated that piece of chocolate more because you ate it slowly and with a purpose? Mindful eating is about progress, not perfection. It's a skill that you have to learn to master and work on it. Okay, so in summary, using food to cope with stress can lead to unhealthy eating habits, usually because we end up eating for reasons other than hunger, and the food we eat during stressful times are not healthy. Mindful eating can help us connect with food in a positive manner that allows us to experience both hunger and satiety. It also helps us become aware of the taste and the textures of the food we eat. In the end, becoming more aware of our hunger and satiety can help us adopt healthier eating habits. If we only eat when we're hungry and stop when we're full, not stuffed, then that's a great start to watching our portions and our calories. Thank you for coming to today's program. I appreciate you being here. I hope you enjoy other programs that we'll be having in the future. Have a nice day.